Welcome to the Word of Mouth Podcast, a series of honest, inspiring conversations with creatives from all walks of life, some in our industry, others far outside it. What connects them all? Passion, persistence, and the courage to keep creating. So listen in and get inspired. Look up our guest, and if you find yourself nodding along, feeling seen, or more hopeful, hit subscribe. Join our journey, and let's keep this conversation going. Let's keep spreading these stories the way they were meant to be shared, by word of mouth. So welcome back to another, what is going to be the most exciting episode of the Word of Mouth podcast that we have ever filmed. We've got Jessica Duce in our studio. She's in from Texas. Jessica is one of our favorite people in the entire world, and we've had the opportunity to work with her multiple times over the last several years. And when we started this podcast, you were the first person on the little post-it of guests that I wanted on here. So this is like a little dream come true for me. Jessica is one of our industry partners. We're a partner in her vacation rental design collective. We love working with Jessica. We love the project she brings, the energy. Wow. The whole studio lights up when you come in. So take a brief minute and give our listeners and our viewers an introduction to yourself and Duce Design.
Are you sure I shouldn't just call it a day after that amazing intro? Like, wow. Okay, well, I love Johnny Davis Digital and this entire team and you and all of you. So I have to say that, of course. I am a interior designer, Houston, Texas, not from Texas, but enjoy living there. And I started in residential design and have maneuvered my way into vacation rental design. And I absolutely love it. I discovered this little niche that I'm passionate about. So I have 3 kids. I play pickleball. I have 2 dogs. Is that a good bio?
I think we're going to cover all of that. I've got a whole list of questions. The trick is going to be to fit this conversation into something that is manageable, and maybe our first part 2, deep dive with Jessica Duce.
Let's do it.
But we'll see. So when we talk about your role as an interior designer, and then how that evolved to specializing in vacation rental and short-term rental design. Talk to us about the differences between those two things, because a lot of people think interior design is interior design.
Sometimes I like to make the relationship like staging versus interior design. I relate a lot to stagers because residential design, we come in and we want to talk to you about how you're going to live in the space, and maybe we need to worry about grandma's purple chair that she gave you, or where should the recliner go, or how do the kids where do they want to do their schoolwork, all those things. We don't care about any of those things in vacation rental design. Just like a stager is, when they are doing a home, they're making it beautiful so people can imagine themselves in the space, but they don't worry about where the bathrobes are going to hang.
That makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
So in vacation rental design, we want people to experience the home and have an amazing time when they're there, but we're not going to worry about, your personal comfort as an owner and your personal objects that need to live there for your everyday use.
That makes sense.
And that's sometimes a challenging conversation for owners. I have a project right now, and the vacation rental, they really want it to be themed out for their favorite college alumni that this home is by. And they're worrying about, where the grandkids are going to put their things and things like that. And we're like, people are going to be in here 3 to 5 days, maybe 7. We don't put stuff all over the counters because they're going to haul in all their food from Costco and leave it all out because you got to eat it by the end of the week and you bought way too much. And, a lot of people we've found live out of their suitcase. I'm one of those people. They're not going to unpack in drawers. It's completely different. So
I am not one of those people. I didn't realize it till I started traveling for work, and I would see the way that my team, they live out of a suitcase. When I check in, whether it's Las Vegas or Bandon, everything goes in its place.
You unpack into the dresser.
Even if it's for a day, if it's for
so
one day.
So does my husband.
There's something about making it feel like I'm part of it instead of just temporarily there. It makes me feel like I can relax. I can make it my home for a brief moment.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I'm just lazy.
I think and it is convenient. You just open the suitcase, and by the end of the trip, you just throw everything back in there, zip it up, and get it out. Yeah, sort it out when you get home. Mm-hmm. So, what are some of the considerations that you would talk about? And I know that we've worked with you on different vacation rentals. Where are those considerations different? I know you had mentioned things like closet space, things like entryways. Talk to the viewer a little bit about, so the next time they check into one of these, they can kind of
Yeah.
appreciate some of these small appointments.
There's the moment that we work with owners and investors that we ask you to capture when you work with us on a
Yeah.
project, starts from the moment they're looking to book it, obviously, the listing photo. Like the magic has to begin with sight and then the language, all the way to the checkout and how we follow up. So we really are soup to nuts. But the differences in design that people don't think about, like a very illuminated property on the exterior, because you as the owner, you know this place inside and out, but this person's
Right.
never been there. Illuminate the number sign, make it easy. I actually checked into a vacation rental in Arizona recently, and every light was off, and we got in at 11 o'clock at night. And it was really intimidating.
Of course.
And, I shared all my thoughts, but which was to help. But all the way into the entryway, this is a big part. So when guests arrive at a vacation rental, typically, that is where the first drop zone happens. They've hauled in their things, they drop everything. They want to walk through the house. Maybe the kids are running around to see where their room is, which one are they going to pick, or maybe they
Right.
already know. They want to walk across the room to see what the view is or what is. So that's the first drop zone. So we actually try to make the entries as spacious as we can. It's typically a place where you can take your shoes on and off, but beyond that, we need it pretty open
That makes
for the
sense.
luggage.
Yeah.
And then, like I mentioned about the kitchen, you don't want to overly decorate the kitchen because they're not going to put all the food away. You only have so much time.
Yep.
I learned this from an owner a long time ago, and I try to do this in all these rentals now, is that we actually eliminate closets. So I have a project going on right now in Brenham, Texas called the Rock and Roll Ranch.
Okay.
And we got to gut the property quite a bit. And the first thing we did was remove all the closets. And if you travel much, you'll see that hotels, that's a trend too. It's exterior mounted closets.
Absolutely.
Closets are actually a waste of square footage, and people don't need that much when they're traveling. So that's something else that's unusual from residential design. And you want to make sure what we call is controlled destruction. So by design, we are trying to control what is going to happen in a home and where the messes will be made.
Okay.
So we keep all of the things like that the kids will want to play with, or the game room, or things like that, like puzzles and all that. We kind of try to control it in one area so that when the people check out, housekeeping only has to target that area for those little bits and pieces. And then they know, like, this room is going to take X amount of time and this room is going to take X amount of time, because we've controlled how much damage, I don't mean to say damage in a negative way, but how much
Use.
activity
Yeah.
in a space.
That makes sense, because sometimes when you book a vacation home, sometimes you'll see more in cleaning costs, for your stay than you did in your rent.
Oh, yeah,
Which
it's
is
a whole thing.
it's but so to maximize the efficiency of the cleaning, and to make sure that the housekeepers know, this is where all my dirt's going to be. This is where all the
Yeah.
chaos is going to be, and this is how fast I can get that back up for the next renter.
We've even gone down to, I understand now why hotel beds typically go to the floor, because it's faster for housekeeping to clean the room. They don't have to look under the bed. They have a clear line with the vacuum or mop or whatever they're doing. There's nothing that they have to maintain under the bed. And floating nightstands, it's faster for them to clean the floors. So all those little touches really help.
Less lost stuffed animals too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Socks.
remember how many times you get there with a stuffed animal, you do not leave with that, and
I know.
you don't find out about it till the child gets back home, and it's a
That's
whole
not good.
mess. No. So you mentioned the Rock and Roll Ranch in Texas, and you've mentioned a few other properties around the United States. Where all have you traveled to, and where all have you designed these short-term rentals? Where do you see the most? I guess the lead out question to that would be, where do you see the most opportunity right now in short-term rental? Is there a certain spot geographically where you see a lot of these going up?
That's a great question. I personally, and it's just kind of worked this way, done a lot of properties in Oregon, and that's where I actually did my first vacation rental.
Okay.
And working with that property manager and then some other investors saw what I did, and I've actually done 11 homes now in Oregon.
Just in Oregon alone. Wow.
But we're working in Texas. We've done 5 in Texas, Florida,
Tennessee
Colorado,
recently.
California, East Coast, New York. So we've literally gotten to work coast to coast.
That's amazing.
And we're working on something outside the U.S. right now that
Really?
we're working on early stages. But people often think of vacation rental design, so it's coastal or it's mountain,
Absolutely.
but it's not. And so actually, one of the most unique projects we did was in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And it is literally designed for people. It's walking distance from the stadium.
Oh, nice.
And I think on game weekend, it's like $4,000.
Oh, wow.
And this is a tiny little house.
Oh, my
And
gosh.
then I could be wrong, but I'm somewhere close. And then, any other time of the year, it's a steal.
Oh, for sure.
But we're not really themey designers, but this one we themed out. So like the kitchen has cheese wallpaper.
That's cool.
And everything in the house is green and yellow. And the showers are yellow or green, like berry. But it's Green Bay, Wisconsin. Absolutely. And it actually is a great profit maker has good ROI for the owner. But you wouldn't think of Green Bay. And we've worked in Hickory Hills, Indiana, and we did a small one in Wyoming, not in the big city. And so you just never know. There is plenty of vacation rental or short-term rental work out there.
That is amazing, and I like the idea of the Green Bay. It's a town-owned team.
It's actually a great place.
It's an amazing. The entire community embraces that football team. So if you're going to theme a home, you're theming the experience, because these are not the people that are living in Green Bay that are staying here. These are the diehard fans coming from California or Florida or Ohio. They're traveling. They want that whole Green Bay Packers experience while they're there. So you are really giving them sort of this immersion into their dream team, with all the colors that their wife would never allow them to put anywhere in their house and that much.
It is an amazing vibe there.
That is
and
cool.
The owners were on the wait list to get tickets for 25 years.
For sure. I've heard.
And
yep.
They bought this little house in the dream of someday being ticket holders. They don't live there. They live in another state.
That is amazing.
That's pretty cool.
And then they can stay in their own, little, crafted experience. So speaking of Oregon, on the coast of Oregon, the most recent project we filmed with you was in Bandon.
When the idea was presented that they were going to do new construction for a vacation rental, a beautiful area in Oregon, Bandon, Oregon, just for golf, I wanted to be a part of it. It sounded exciting to me. And I have never been a part of a project where the primary view is a putting green.
And that was such a amazing home. It was the first home that we've ever filmed to that scale. And so that was an intense project for us coming into it, because, we didn't know what we were walking into. We knew there were some weather considerations, but will you kind of bring us back to the idea of that golf house, where when you got the project, sort of where you started in that process.
Yeah. And thank you again for the leap of faith for the team to come out to Bandon, because that was a first on so many things.
It was.
And it became magical.
It was. And it was absolute magic. And it still continues to, bolster us to this day, we compare that project. We compare every project we do now to that project. We'll say, this is going to be abandoned. That's actually what we call that.
Really?
This will be a abandoned scale project.
It's a verb and a noun and an adjective. And
yep. A curse word sometimes. No.
Oh my gosh. Well, this one was kind of unusual. And, to be really transparent for any designer listening, we're always molding our process. I think we have to pivot all the time and be creative. And I wish there was this perfect little checklist. And maybe for some designers out there is, but I feel like I always need to refine something or figure out a different way, or, maybe I should try this because I don't know, maybe it's
Yeah.
the creative brain. But Bandon Project, so the property manager, I had done several homes with him already on the coast of Oregon, and he is the property manager on my very first ever rental, Big Blue, which is the whole reason I do what I do today. I did that project and it changed my life and my career. And so he reached out about this project, and it was going to be a new challenge for him as well because he doesn't live anywhere near it. He lives in the Portland area, and Bandon Dunes is quite a drive all the way down the
couple hours,
coast.
yeah.
And he knew he would have to source local people there that he had never worked with. And he was doing a design that he pitched the idea of what he saw in his head for the design, and there's nothing like it in the area. And for people that don't know about Bandon Dunes, because I didn't know anything about Bandon Dunes, it is one of the most recognized golf courses in the world. It is number 1 or 2 in North America, and it's freaking stunning.
It is.
I felt like I was in Scotland with California weather.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely beautiful, weightless. But what makes Bandon Dunes Golf Resort unique is that everybody wants these tee times at this amazing resort, and you get those by staying on property. And if you're not on property, you kind of get what's left over.
Okay.
And not everybody can stay on property.
No, right.
And it's and it's going to be a different price tier.
Right.
So what he was thinking of doing didn't exist. And so he reached out to me.
Okay.
And so we walked through it, and he had a really great idea for the design of the home, which was similar to what he had just built for himself in Portland. And so we already knew it was a good functional model, but now we needed to make it a vacation rental, and you design differently. And he knew he wanted a putting green. So it's a U and the putting green in the center, but it has to have drama when you pull up. And my thing was, I think guests should have an ensuite. I really prefer guests to not have to share a bathroom. So I wanted every room to have its own bathroom. I don't really like people to have to share rooms. We struggle with that one a little bit sometimes. And living spaces, I think a lot of times owners and investors think of rentals as heads in beds. How many people can I get sleeping here? Because that's the revenue stream in their head.
As the renter, it is so alarming to go on one of those sites and to see a 3-bedroom house and it says it sleeps 16.
That's wrong.
It's like, come on.
Right. I tell them that these are human rights at this point. And
Absolutely.
I'm intervening.
Yeah.
So you have to have living space. And if you say that you sleep 10, then there should be, in my opinion, 10 seats for people to sit together and eat.
Agreed.
So these are the things that are important to me. So that's what we went back and forth and figured out about, how to balance the affordability, and we still want beauty. We're attracting a very specific clientele, and we want it to be amazing and comfortable. The first thing that we do when we're hired is that we use data. We hire a company, and they do a pretty intense research project on the area. And that is down, I think the report is about 25 to 30 pages long. And it literally tells us all the competition of where we're targeting, and we choose the radius. We may want a 1-mile radius or a 50-mile radius.
Okay.
It depends on what we're looking for. We want to know what the amenities are. We want to know what all of our competition is making, where they're losing money, what's a profit maker for them.
Wow.
What they list in their homes, what their reviews are, positive and negative, what the chamber shows as revenue streams for different pillars in the area. We want to know what activities have gone on in the past and what's coming forward in the next 10 years, what demographics we should target, and we use that data for our design.
That does not feel like anything an interior designer would ever say.
Very different.
I mean, that is, I guess, a huge dividing part. You know, if you're an interior designer going to someone's residence, you know, you want to know what the property value is, and if it's, you know, rising or falling, but that's kind of the end of that, demographic research.
Yeah.
With the short-term rental, you're catering to every single person that's going to check into that, and you're checking it against the profitability for the owner of the house.
Well, we basically design for a stranger.
Okay.
We design for somebody we're never going to meet. And we design in a way for that stranger to make sure somebody has a return on investment.
Right.
So maybe I should have opened with that when you asked me about what's different with design.
I mean, I think that I have sat in so many of the panels and the seminars and the talks that you are a part of during market. So I've heard some of these things, but because we're typically filming those, I don't get a chance to actually sit back and appreciate, exactly how much data you're collecting to curate these once in a lifetime, in some cases, experiences for people to check into a home that was designed by you, that is owned by somebody else, that is appreciated by hundreds or thousands of people. I mean, that's pretty incredible. So when you talk about Bandon, there were a lot of really cool amenities in that house, like really one-off, like a golf simulator, the putting green in the backyard, the hot tub. How do you balance that with the overall design and the aesthetic without it becoming too Dave and Buster's or,
Exactly.
how do you do that?
Well, that's I'm glad you asked that, because that was actually a big part of our data research, helped me figure out the amenities in that home. So we saw on one rental, and it was like in a 15-mile radius, they had glove and shoe dryers.
Yes.
And I have to be honest, that would not have occurred to me. But it's Oregon.
Right.
And it's the chances of it raining on you while you're golfing are fairly high, right?
Yeah.
And so we had them research that property, and they had kind of a little dinky one, like one person could use it at a time. So we're like, oh no, we're going to do the Big Daddy. So we knew if we wanted to stand out, and this was amenity, it hadn't occurred to us, it needed to look really cool.
Absolutely.
And it needed to dry the things that we needed for, what do we sleep there? 16, I think?
Yeah, I think 16.
Yeah, so it can do that. So that was made to look attractive. It's a black dryer unit.
Right.
That's not sexy.
No.
So we painted the room almost the same color and tricked it out a little bit, so it kind of looks like an architectural feature instead of like a glove dryer.
Well, I know that when we were planning that project, you had mentioned that the entire aesthetic of this home was going to be, James Bond playing golf or James Bond retiring. And then this is the house that James Bond would rent if James Bond was going to rent a short-term rental in Oregon.
I'm so glad you circled back to that, because that was thank you. That is the design direction. When we started designing the house and talking about it, they're like, well, what's the theme? What's the vibe? And I knew I wanted it to be sexy.
Yeah.
Because all the colors we were drawn to were these blacks and charcoals and deep greens. And I said, okay, this is going to be if James Bond retired and he wanted to golf.
Absolutely.
And we went from there.
Yep.
And the first inspiration piece I had was a really kind of sexy, modern looking camel leather sectional.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would want to sit there.
Oh,
I don't smoke
absolutely.
cigars, but I'd sit there and hold one. It
Absolutely.
just seemed super cool. So it built off from there. And our creative director, Peg, on the team, she really ran with it. At one point, we spent a lot of time Googling James Bond images, and I literally typed in James Bond sexy golfing.
Well, he did in Goldfinger.
You don't get everything that you want when you Google that, for the record. But there is a really cool photo of a woman in just his white shirt, and he's putting, and it's a very cool, sexy picture. And I pitched it for the living room, and it was vetoed.
Oh, it was vetoed?
It was a little too sexy.
Yeah, sometimes, it crosses. But
I think that house feels like...
It does. And I will say with the color palette in there, and I know we're going to put up a lot of visual imagery to accompany this part, especially because we're a visual podcast, and this house, to really appreciate it, you have to stand and appreciate the scale, but also this color palette that feels so Oregon, and it feels so... It makes you feel like you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Like if that house was built out of the earth, the colors, the wood, the
Aw.
windows, the light, everything works in that house. It feels like you're within those dappled trees and those thick Pacific forest. I mean, you
No.
really did great on that the whole home, down to the smallest detail in the restrooms. And like you said, every room has its own bathroom, which is so important, for the privacy, the functionality, but then blending that with this overall grand aesthetic. I've never walked into a home and felt so small and then felt so at home, just
Aw.
immediately walking into the living room you can look right through to the backyard and to the putting green. I mean, it is a very welcoming, very inviting space to be as luxurious as it is.
Well, that is a great compliment. Thank
Well,
you.
of course. And that home was featured in the Wall Street Journal,
It was.
which is pretty
That was
cool.
pretty exciting.
That's pretty neat to have a piece picked up. And, who better to take advantage of a home like that than the folks that read the Wall Street Journal, right? Like, I mean, it's just...
We've actually been contacted by investors because of that article and what they read. So we feel very fortunate.
So to talk a little bit about the collaboration that we did have with you, when you brought us in, what was your expectation or what was sort of your dream or your vision for bringing this home, in Bandon, Oregon to the world?
Well, I definitely wanted to be able to show, and back to our James Bond design, because this will circle back.
Yeah.
As we evolved this retired James Bond golfer vibe, we also, in our data report, learned that a lot of couples, obviously, right? A lot of couples are golfing. So we were really getting hyper-focused into this James Bond thing. And then we were like, we need to address that this is not going to be just a bunch of men every single time.
Absolutely.
So we started softening things and adding more elements so that it didn't feel as heavily masculine.
Absolutely.
And so what I mean, where I'm going with that is when you guys agreed to come out, which I was thrilled, I really wanted you to focus, which you did, on showing how it felt welcome to anyone.
Absolutely, it did.
And it would work for a group that really didn't care about golfing either. I mean, I know that's the primary focus, but I would honestly be one of those people that would go and hang out in Bandon Dunes and not golf. There's
I
amazing
agree.
amenities there. You have the beach. It's charming that you have a national park for hiking.
Yep.
I could easily stay there. You feel hugged by the trees.
Absolutely.
You have the sauna, the jacuzzi, the big TV, the hangouts,
Yep.
the fire pit. And so I wanted you to tell the story beyond just somebody that's into golf.
Absolutely. That's the easy story, I think, is, this is for golfers. It's designed, with that in mind. But it would be very, very easy to forget that the golf course is even there when you're in that home. There's so much to do in the area. You have the little putting green out back. So, if you want to plink around a ball or two, which we did while we were filming out there,
Yeah,
and
that
was
was
super fun. There is enough to do, and there is enough just within the house, like just getting a group of friends together. You may never need to leave because you have everything that you need within those walls. I mean, it's pretty incredible.
Well, and I love the fact that you can sit your entire group. I think we have 18 chairs.
Yep.
And the way the tables are done, our dining table area, the tables are designed so that they can be pulled apart or put together. So everybody can literally have an amazing meal together.
Yeah.
And I want connection. And that's the story that we try to tell with every vacation rental we do, is have this experience and this connection. And I think you did a good job of telling that.
Well, thank you very much. And, again, we were honored to be a part of that project. And, as it started to shape up, and I know there was a delay and we had to pivot a little bit. We were very worried about Oregon weather, but it turns out Oregon in November is actually beautiful. Like,
oh my gosh.
I did not think that when we landed. I asked the lady, I said, I guess I was expecting a lot of snow and rain. And she said, this is actually one of the prettier times.
We got so lucky, but
we did.
It is a sweet memory of like Daniel with the drone. He's like, we got clear weather, and he'd run out and then he'd have a very small window.
At one point there was sun, rain, and hail.
Oh, we had
within
a
about
hailstorm.
30 minutes. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
And within 10 minutes after the hail was still sitting on the putting green, had not melted, and the sun was just as beautiful. The sky was as blue as it could possibly be.
That was
and
crazy.
You would have never thought that hail had just fallen. Yeah.
There were so many things that just aligned, because typically when you do a shoot like this, you don't want the property manager there.
Right.
And we had Brent with us,
right,
who also built it with
yep.
his best friend Byron. And He was great.
He was amazing. He is, to this day, as being someone, and you're right, typically you don't have a property manager there. If you're doing a home, you typically don't have the homeowner there.
Right.
He integrated himself, and he was so hospitable, he was so welcoming, he was so knowledgeable and so conversational about this property that you could hear the pride in everything he did in that home. He would talk about his son crafted the
His
light
son.
over the table and the hidden speaker and entertainment system in the living room. And he spoke with such pride and affection in his words that you could tell in one sentence how much that home actually meant to him.
Yeah.
I love that. Very rarely do we get those kind of very organic, magic you cannot script, moments. And he agreed to be on camera. He is actually, in the finished video, and he's perfect. Just absolutely perfect.
You bring up a really good point, because I think there's maybe a perception that vacation rental design is somewhat of a cold experience, meaning like as a residential designer, I would sit down with you, would talk about how you live in the space, and I want
Right.
your home to be your reflection.
Of course.
But what's unique about vacation rental designs, at least in my experience, and I can say this on every single project I've been on, is that the owner or property manager really does want to have a unique guest experience for their guests, and they get involved in different ways. So like Brent's son hand making us things.
Right.
And at Big Blue, the owner was really creative about sourcing local artists.
Yeah.
And the Green Bay Packer House, they went to a lot of work to find vintage Green Bay things all over the
That is so
country to
cool.
incorporate, because they cared, and finding local artisans to build things. And so there really is personal touches and stories and this passion for an experience
Yep.
that happens, that you get to have that dynamic still.
I think that's incredible. And I think that is the difference between, like what you were saying, like cold design, think like a motel, no matter
Yeah.
how nice it is entirely impersonal. Whereas the short-term rental design that you do and that you partner with, the property owners and, your, the furniture brands that you use inside there. And I want to talk more about the collaboration there, but you are curating an experience for people to have, whether they check in for 3 days or 7 days. It's not a motel. You're not leaving and not being affected by it. You're not appreciating the vintage memorabilia or, the golf simulator or, these small. One thing that I thought was neat with Bandon was every room has its own air conditioner. You are not going to trust a house that big. I mean, that is a massive home. Everybody is not going to be comfortable at the same temperature, period. So
Right.
every single room is this private little haven for the person staying in there. And then they are only a short walk down a hallway into this grand meeting, gathering, familial space.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's, I think, a hard balance to pull off, where it's not impersonal, it's not cold. It is like your second home the minute you walk in there. And I think that people that stay in well-curated short-term rentals come away with more of that Disney effect, like, oh, it was amazing because, these tiny little details were thought of, added, and, paid attention to.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, without being kitschy.
Yeah. And I think that's,
It's my
some
fear.
people do it too. Yeah. Especially, here on the East Coast in North Carolina, there's a lot of vacation properties on the,
Yeah.
on the coast, and you check in, you just think like, is this intended for like a 12-year-old?
Well, and it can be done right. Like, I've got nothing against a seashell pillow. Like, I'm not trying to make it
What
sound
about
like
seashell
that.
stuck to the wall? And
Maybe it can be done right. I just haven't seen it. But, we're working with some clients in Tennessee,
okay.
and the family actually owns like 250 rentals. And it's a family legacy. And like their family are part of the original ancestors of founding Gatlinburg. They have a beautiful story. But she actually pointed this out to me because the daughter or granddaughter in the lineage, she is slowly trying to help them make over all these rentals. And that's
Okay.
why we are working with her. It's an
Okay.
honor to work with them. But she was showing me the pictures, and a lot of them had the red and black check quilts with the bear and the moose and the coyote, and
Yeah.
we've all seen that quilt, right?
100%.
And it's in all the rentals. And she goes, you know what drives me crazy about this the most? And I'm like, I don't know where to start. And she said, we don't have moose in Tennessee, but every one of our rentals has some nod to a moose.
That
That's
is
the
so
problem.
funny.
And to me, that's what I mean by kitschy. Like,
That is so funny.
you know,
Yeah, the moose is, used far, far, far too much.
yeah.
I think that at the coast, you have the same flamingos, everywhere. It's
And I'm
done too
not digging
much.
on it. I mean, I'm not. I just,
It's done right. It's curated well. A little bit goes a long way. But yeah, using some of the natural wildlife and resources near you probably does build authenticity to where they are.
we are doing a building in Siesta Key, Florida. And so all I've seen is the pictures so far. We haven't
Okay.
done our site visit yet. But as we were going through the pictures with the owners, they have a lot of whales, like wooden whales hanging and wooden picture like in the art.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are there whales there? And they're like, no.
Like, well,
I think we're going to get rid of the whales.
it's water. They could get there if they
I mean,
wanted
for a
to.
brief moment, I was like, am I remembering things wrong?
That's too funny.
But people just think ocean or,
Right.
water and,
Whales, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I think that I think that there's some touristy shops, and there's some more souvenir based furniture motifs and things like that you could see. And yeah, throw in the black bears and throw in the moose and throw in the whales, and the starfish and the seahorses, or whatever else, but do so sparingly, because
Yeah.
it ends up kind of losing its identity, and like you said, kind of crosses that line in a little bit of kitsch. I think that well maintained, well thought out, well curated, whether that's a film production for us or a photo shoot for us,
yeah.
what you're designing is essentially the living embodiment of that art direction, and it's got to grow and evolve with it. If moose are introduced to Tennessee, then by God, put moose on the pillows.
I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know.
I don't think there are moose down there yet, but maybe
I feel confident there
they'll
is.
migrate a little bit. So I wanted to get back a little bit. I'm sorry, that was a bit of a moose related tangent, but I wanted to get into a little bit of the collaboration, because we love collaboration in our studio. We don't see a such thing as competition. We only see potential collaborators. We collaborate with you. We collaborate with HPXD.
Yeah.
We've had Jane on our show. We've had Erica Soret with Soret Creative. We see them all as these huge collaborative partners. And you created the Vacation Rental Design Collaborative. Talk to us a little bit about what that is and what that means, from both a short-term rental designer or an interior designer or a furniture brand, rugs, wall coverings. What does this involve?
Well, the Vacation Rental Designer Collective was born out of the Vacation Rental Design Summit. And to just go back on that for just a brief moment, I think we did it in 23. I don't remember when the first one was. And the story goes is that Jane Dagme, who I had kind of had a girl crush on, to be really honest. I followed her, and she was the editor of Designers Today, and she's just a cool girl. And she had just started HPXD, or working for HPXD. And it was kind of this mystery of what it was. And I was at market, and I was sourcing for vacation rentals. And I was going to brands and talking with other designers about what I did, and it was like I was speaking a foreign language. I sourced differently and I designed differently. I'm looking for different things, and I couldn't find people that knew what I was looking for, but I knew that there was a ton of work out there. And so I ended up pitching to Jane. I ran into her in Universal Furniture,
Okay.
pitched her the idea for the summit, and the stars and moon aligned, and she liked the idea. And we went from there. Brought in Erica, did the first summit, prayed it would work well. High Point Market Authority partnered with us,
Yeah.
and it was a big success. Obviously, you know that, you were there.
Right. Yeah.
And as the summit happened, and I realized that I had found my people, and the summit is ending, I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to keep these people in this community? We've done this summit. It was a great launch, and everybody kind of bonded. You saw the magic, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Like people
Yeah.
are exchanging all this information. Like, how are we going to stay
want to
together?
avoid the drift.
We finally
Right.
found our people. So in 3 days, I put together the collective. And I'm going to be honest, I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew I needed something that would keep us together.
Yeah.
And it's a community, but I also knew that it was an opportunity to educate brands, because we really do design differently.
Absolutely.
And what I tell to brands is if you're looking for exposure with a project, if you do a residential project, that designer brings in your, furniture, accessories, whatever it is. It's photographed beautifully. Hopefully, it will get published. The neighbors come over, family, great job, love it. That family is done with that project for a while, right? It's done. The lifespan is anywhere from 7 to 10 years. As a brand, if you work with us as vacation rental designers, we're going to create this same beautiful experience. Hopefully, it'll get published. And it's going to now live on, at a minimum, 20 platforms. And you're going to have different people viewing this, in theory, could be 50 weeks a year. And they're going to take pictures and share it. And so if you're actually looking for exposure for your projects and product, then this would be a more profitable path.
Oh, 100%.
And so as I explain that to brands, they're like, tell me more.
Yeah.
And so I knew I needed to connect the brands, I needed to connect the designers, and I wanted a community. And that's how the collective was born. And so how it works is, well, I have to say one more thing. I knew that I had to create something that brands could access designers collectively and somehow learn from them.
Right.
And designers need to work with these brands that we're going to pre-vet and need to be able to get something from them that they can't get on their own typically.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Now, what we have created is, I don't care if you're a vacation rental designer. We are a community that supports you and answers questions and answers and wants to see your business thrive. But we also have brand connections that you typically can't get on your own.
And that's where I think that interior designers in general really, there is such an air of mystery over how you guys get into those doors. Like we see at market, that interior designers are really more plentiful now than the sales reps.
We're like
for
rabbits.
These large, that you are like rabbits. You are. And but seeing them, and again, sitting in on panels and sitting on conversations and having conversations like these, it helps educate the public as to why the design professional needs to be like a relationship like you have with a dentist or a therapist or anybody else in your life, because they don't work in one facet one time. And I'm sure with vacation rental, especially as you're partnering with furniture brands, you're talking about an ongoing relationship where you are discussing multiple projects all at the same time that you're sourcing for, because the furniture brand you're sourcing has got like the must-have pieces of furniture with the right exposure in the right community, in the right environment, made with the quality that you can tell the story, rely on them, and they're beautiful pieces.
Yeah, and we have some other unusual requirements. Like, I can tell you, it was very challenging to ship furniture to Bandon Dunes, Oregon, or Waldport, Oregon.
Absolutely.
It's actually really challenging to ship to Carmel, California, and to Wimberley, Texas.
Oh, for sure.
And so when we are vetting brands, we need to know what their drop ship is, how fast their turnaround is, if we can see the inventory when we're purchasing.
Oh, that's amazing.
We want some special discounts because we're offering different things.
Yeah. And some of these are probably questions they've never been asked before. They don't have an answer because no one has ever needed that thought. That's amazing.
So it's kind of been great.
I think that is what we try to do on this podcast, and the reason for this podcast is to have a conversation with the creatives, and creatives in every different industry, because a designer is a designer is a designer, right? That everybody thinks that in our world that interior and graphic design are kind of the same thing, right? And so I think that the more we can peel back some of the mystery and some of the layers of what that creative process looks like, and how I loved earlier in the episode you mentioned that it's constantly evolving. You're constantly tweaking and rethinking and trying to figure out the best way to present or approach a problem that is unique to this situation alone. And that in itself is very creative. And then you're surrounding yourselves with the VRD and the folks at HPXD and creativity. The more you speak with creatives, I'm sure the first conversation between you and Jane and Erica was just a creative blizzard, of things going around, because what's the potential, like let's dream a little bit and then create from that dream. So I think that's inspiring. I think that's very cool.
Thank you.
I like to ask all of our guests, and it's just, there's no right or wrong answer. AI in our industry and in our technology? Are you robots are going to take over the world and kill us all? Or are you AI is this amazing tool that we can use and make our life easier?
I'm team both.
Your team both.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So use it responsibly with
Yeah.
great power.
I mean, I do think that the Terminator movie is going to happen someday at this
100%.
point. I'm convinced. I don't know if I'll still be around when that happens, but
100%.
I use AI.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's amazing. I hope people use the powers for good and that Terminator 2 does not happen.
Right.
Or Terminator. But yeah.
Okay. So that's a lot of what we've come down on. In creatives, my worry has been and will continue to be with AI that not that it's going to replace our jobs, because I truly believe that the human creative mind cannot be duplicated in without the human touch, without the emotion, without the drive. And when you see screenplays that have been written solely by AI, it feels like there's an empty block in there. And it's not that anything was technically written wrong. It's just that it does not connect to the human emotion.
Yeah.
But I do think that AI is fantastic when it comes to if you need it's kind of like a life thesaurus, like I know what I want to say, but I just don't know the right words to use to say it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good benefit. I think that it can help you. I've seen some people use it to plan an interior, like there's,
sure.
you can, I want green and I want blue walls and I want it to be this style of a house or this style of a room, and it'll get you in the right direction. But I don't think it replaces, that we're putting into it.
I agree. And we've all received those emails where like, really? You just chat GPT copy pasted? Come on.
100%.
I just used it yesterday because I was trying to translate to our painters what I wanted, and I didn't want to take the time to draw it. And
Right.
I wanted to color block this room, but I have this diagonal line I'm trying to describe to him. And,
Yeah.
he's looking at me like I'm crazy pants. And so I just chat GPT'd, and it wasn't perfect, but it was enough for me to
Gets
be
the
able
point
to
across.
go,
Yeah.
does this make more sense?
Yep.
And he's like, oh, okay, I'm good.
It's like a digital cocktail napkin.
Yeah.
You just jot the stuff down on it, throw something together. I actually used it recently for the first time, blocking out shots for a storyboard I was, creating, just because I didn't want to go to the time of saying Google image search family of 4 fishing on bank with little girl waving at kayaker in distance. It was like easier to just throw that in. It didn't give me
Yeah.
exactly what I wanted, but it definitely gave
Close
me
enough.
the idea of like, this is going to be about what that looks like. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. Good. Perfect. All right. So robot, still scary. AI, maybe a friend. We'll see.
Right, it's both.
You just don't feed it after midnight. Don't get it wet.
There you go.
I guess to round out, I want to kind of more hip pocket shoot a little bit.
Okay.
But so
ready.
when you're designing an experience, you've designed a bunch of different themes, a bunch of different elements and motifs in different homes. What do you look for? Maybe what's that dream project that you have in the back of your head and you're just waiting for the right situation, the right project? What would that be? Like, what's that thing that you think there's going to be the right conversation? I'm able to create this, and I can't wait. Is it a Star Wars themed house?
Oh my God. I am a Star Wars nerd. I'm going to admit it right now. I have an original Star Wars pinball machine outside my office.
Amazing.
My dream project. We're in talks for a project that will actually be very challenging, but very exciting. And it would be having to only use boats to get everything to the project.
Wow.
Because it's kind of like on an island.
Okay.
So I don't want to jinx it. I haven't inked it, but that would be like amazing.
That would be
to
cool.
Figure all that out.
The story behind that would be
Wouldn't that be great?
I would love to film that, like just the logistics
love to
on,
do it.
like shipping the things across the water. So that's cool. So, what are some of your favorite design projects that you have done? If you said there was a moment that maybe an unplanned moment, one of those unplanned magical moments that we talk about, give us one of those nuggets.
I'm actually having one of those moments right now on
Okay.
a project. So I'm doing this project called the Rock and Roll Ranch, and the owner owns a rock band,
Okay.
and his family is musical. His son is in a band.
Okay.
And so rock and roll was born, right?
Yeah.
And when Peg and I were putting together the mood boards, we saw an image of a guitar-shaped pool, and we're like, what the heck? Let's put it on there. That's our vibe.
Okay.
And he targeted that right away. And that became the initial theme. And then we went from there. Like
That is
the
cool.
guitar pool has been done for a while, and we're
Right.
still finishing the houses. Like that's how important it became.
Wow.
And it's a glow in the dark pool. I had never designed a swimming pool before. I didn't do like the actual design. I got to pick the pretties, like the
Right.
tile and the colors.
Yeah.
And we did it all in glow in the dark.
Oh my gosh.
But where I'm going with that is that we had it planned where I wanted to really stay with that theme and have fun with it. And I wanted a bunk room. And the bunk room was a tour bus. That's what I envisioned.
Cool.
So that you would feel like you were entering the tour bus, but I could sleep a ton of people, but I was going to make it really cool.
Yeah.
And it just kept getting more and more complicated and more expensive figuring it out. And so we had to pivot. And that pivot, since it started becoming out of budget, became one of the best decisions.
Really?
So we ended up flipping spaces, and the space that was the tour bus bunk room is now a sport bar.
Oh, that's cool.
And has a pass-through window
That
and
is cool.
seating inside and out and TVs, and it's a whole nother controlled vibe area for people can get away.
That is
And we shifted where the bunk rooms are, and then we knew we wanted also another kind of fun vibe in the house, but to stay on theme. So we added a speakeasy with a secret door in a living room.
cool. That is amazing.
And so being able to have this creative flexibility
Right?
and think outside the box, that's pretty fun.
That is a lot of fun.
And I feel so lucky I get to do that.
That's
So that would be it.
So the final, like, just, final question has nothing to do with design, but talk to us about pickleball. From what I understand, you are like a pickleball ace. Like is there a
I have
professional
moments.
pickleball league?
I was a tennis player.
Oh, okay.
So I have a wicked backhand.
Okay.
But that's about it. I'm kind of a one-trick pony. And I was getting a lot better at it, but I broke my ankle at April Market.
Oh, that's right. I do remember that. Yep.
So this is my first full week with shoes. 2-shoe Magoo now.
Oh, wow.
So I'm hoping to get back to pickleball
Okay.
after
So
PT.
I know we have a project in Wimberley next month in Texas. I think there's a pickleball court.
There
and
is. We're going to play.
I'm going to bring my custom paddle.
You don't? Oh, okay. Because we do have paddles at that
Good.
project.
I don't own one.
Okay. Okay, we got you covered.
Okay, perfect. Jessica, thank you so much for being on the episode, for coming in. I know that you are so busy in the limited amount of time you have in High Point right now, so I cannot thank you enough, for coming in. If the viewers and the listeners want to find you and find your design and talk to you or book a consultation with you, where can they find you?
Well, first I have to say I love being part of the Johnny Davis team
Well, thank you so much.
because I've made myself part of the team.
You are absolutely part of the team. We've got your T-shirt up front.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I love you guys. If you wanted to reach out to me, I would absolutely love it. I'd love to tell you about the collective or design or work with you. Duce Design is my primary company. And then Vacation Rental Designers is our platform for the collective.
Okay.
So
And you're on Instagram at Duce Design also?
Facebook, Instagram. I'm not doing the TikTok yet. I
Not doing the
can't handle
TikTok.
it yet.
We have just now tapped into TikTok.
Not ready. But we got website. You can reach us in so many other ways.
And your website looks beautiful, and not for nothing, but the hero video on there is of Bandon.
pretty good,
People
right?
should absolutely watch it. Yes, it is.
You may have been
phenomenal.
involved.
A little bit. Maybe there's a reflection in a window somewhere. But thank you again, Jessica. I appreciate it so much.